What's good, everyone? My name is Puns. Today we're gonna make a sample for NBA Youngboy. We're gonna make some Soulful Baton Rouge vibes. I'm gonna play the loop for you, and then we'll break it down. Yeah, so the first sound I used in this sample is a piano. I used the Grandeur, which is a contact bank. I'll play you the piano section and then we'll break it down. So what I did for this chord progression is I did a 1-4-6 chord progression. I copied over the bass notes over here just to give it some bass, some low end. And I left space over here in the second bar and also over at the sixth bar, right over here, just to leave space and give it a nice bounce. Now let's go over effects. For effects, I used the Valhalla Vintage Verb, low cuts at the 1500 and the mix to around 19. I left everything else the same. Then I used a Fruity Delay 2. I set the time to 2, set the feedback to ping pong, and I put the mix level around 6. The next thing I used is a UAD API channel strip. I used a rock and roll piano preset and I set the mix level to 8, and then I just EQ'd out some low end. The next thing I did was I added a piano top line. I'm going to play it for you and then I'll show you how to make your own top line. Yeah, so for this top line, I used the same preset, the Ultra Bright Grand from the Grandeur, which is a contact bank. And what you want to do for these top lines is you want to go into the blues scale. So I'm in the D minor scale. Just go to View, Scale Highlighting. And right now it says minor natural, right, which is the scale. So you're going to want to go to other blues. And this right here allows you to use notes out of the D minor natural scale, which gives it that authentic YB sound. So as you can see over here, there's 3 notes that you can use in a row, and they go throughout the scale as well. So what you want to do for these kind of scales, what you want to do for these kind of top lines, is you want to move up and down the scales, and you want to find notes that sound really melodic together. So just play around with the notes, and you'll usually find something that sounds good if you take your time with it. And you also want to leave room for the rest of the sample and also for the artist. And you don't want to overcrowd things, so try not to do too much unless you're leaving a lot of space in the other elements of your loop as well. Now let's break down effects. For effects, I use the exact same effects. I use Valhalla Vintage Verb, low cuts at the 1500. The mix to around 19, Fruity Delay 2. I set the time to 2 and the feedback to ping pong. Set the mix to around 6, and I used the UAD API channel strip, the rock and roll preset, and I set the mix to 8 and I EQ'd out some low end. The next thing I did is I added a Rhodes. I used the LA Custom Warm from Keyscape. I'll play it for you and then we'll break it down. Yeah, so as you can see, I took the chord progression and the top line and I put them into one MIDI, and I just used the exact same progression and the exact same top line. So now let's break down effects. For effects on this Rhodes, I used a Valhalla Vintage Verb, low cut set to 1500, the mix to around 19, and left everything else the same. Then I used a Fruity Delay 2, set the time to 2, feedback to ping pong, and the mix level to around 8, and then I EQ'd up. The next thing I did was I added a bass guitar. I used Serum 2, and I used the Funk Bass preset, which is under Bass, Electric, and it's right over here. So what I did was I basically copied and pasted the bass notes, and I used the same MIDI from the chord progression to do this. Now I'm going to play it for you, and then we'll break down effects. For effects, I EQ'd some high end, EQ'd some low end, and I used the UAD Avalon 737 channel strip. I used the Moog Bass Punch preset, which adds a lot of color and gives it a lot of punch. The next thing I did was I added an organ. I used the Electric Soul preset from Analog Lab Play. This was a free preset that came with Analog Lab Play, and I'm pretty sure you can still download it if I'm correct. So this is the MIDI. I'll play it for you, and then we'll break it down. So I just added some notes towards the 4th and the 8th bars. I went down the scale in the 4th, and I went up the scale in the 8th, and I added an extra note just to give it some variation. You want to do this to add some ear candy to the beat and give it that authentic YB sound. It makes it sound more soulful, which is exactly what we're going for. Now let's break down effects. Effects on this organ are a Valhalla vintage verb, low cut set to 1500, mix to 21, and I left everything else the same. Then I used a Fruity Delay 3, left everything the same, and set the mix level to 6. And then I EQ'd out some low end. Yeah, so it wouldn't be a Youngboy beat without some guitars and some wah guitars as well. So I'll play them for you, and then I'll explain what I used and where I got them from. Yeah, so where I got this guitar phrase was from Nitro Audio's Ultimate Pain Kit Volume 2. Shout out to Wello, shout out to Vabu. And I also got these wah sounds from Timmy the Hitman's Colors Kit. It's free. You can also check out the Ultimate Baton Rouge Kit by Nitro Audios. Some dope sounds in there as well. And you want to add these wah sounds and also guitar. Incorporate guitar into your melodies, your loops, your beats when you're making them for NBA Youngboy, because that's the ear candy that everyone wants to hear, and that those melodies are what make the beat stand out even more. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of this NBA Youngboy loop. Stay tuned for more, because I'm going to be coming with 2 to 3 tutorials every single week. We're going to do beat breakdowns, cook-ups, and sample making. And we're going to do them for artists such as NBA Youngboy, Rod Wave, Lil Durk, and many more. We're going to stay focused on the pain niche, but I'll also be coming with some trap stuff as well. I hope everyone stays safe and enjoy your day.